Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. Today we are streaming the future with Mevo Core, hosted by Logitech. And for that, I'd like to welcome our guests for the next hour, Joe and Nate from Logitech. Guys, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Great to
How's
be
it
here.
going?
I should be asking you guys how you're doing. We welcome you into the fire. It's like we've laid this Logitech groundwork. We have such a great series rolling, and now I feel like you guys are getting thrown in with me, and it's a lion's den.
Well, we're looking
Better
forward
team to
to it.
get thrown into.
There you
Like,
go. All right, good
you
answer.
know?
We're off to a good start, everybody. I love
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Before we get into what we're talking about today, which is streaming the future with this wonderful new product, if you guys just introduce us to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Nate Lundy. I'm the product manager here for Mevo for our software apps and hardware. So yeah, just here to show you our new awesome product and hopefully bring some use cases to light for you so you can find some great ways to use it.
And it takes a community to build it, and it was fun to work with Nate and the rest of the team to kind of make it come to life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to officially welcome you guys to the program. You guys are no strangers to streaming, as I can tell by your setups there. But before we get this thing kicked off, we're going to play a little sizzle reel here and kind of introduce us to this new product, and then Jack's going to talk tech.
Awesome.
You guys just raised the bar for every other product we ever highlight on this program now. It's like we don't if they're not giving me a reel like that, I'm like, no, we're not doing this. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Um,
awesome. We spent some time on that guy. We were really excited when that finally rolled out from the creative team. I mean, it's pretty cool. Probably the best piece of content Mevo's ever created as far as like a promo video. So yeah, we came
Yeah,
out hot.
I
yeah.
was gonna
No,
say
the
like
media team's great.
yeah, like I know we were gonna dive into like talking the nuts and bolts and what it does, but what is it like? I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the green room about being passionate about who you work for, the company you're working for, what you guys are doing, the products that you're putting out. What was it like before we dive into the numbers and the specs and all that? I just want to know from an experiential standpoint, what's it like to work on a product like this?
Take it
Yeah,
away, Nate.
yeah, I'll go ahead. I've been with Mevo probably, well, since the beginning, 6+ years now, in different aspects of the company. So it's been a ton of fun to see sort of the evolution of where we've gone over those years. Working on different products. This is our third generation of product. Technically, maybe our fourth if you count a quick iteration after the first launch. But this is this is a big boy. This is like a serious product that's going to be taken seriously, hopefully by a new group of professional users. And so seeing the evolution of doing this really, really small, tiny 4K sort of GoPro-esque type camera, and now launching a legit micro four thirds camera is pretty sweet. And along with the team, we're a small team within Logitech. We're only like 25 folks that are handling a good chunk of this. Obviously, we have help from the larger Logitech brand, but for the most part, we're a pretty tight-knit group of dedicated people, and most of those people have been with the team since the beginning, or at least since the last 3 or 4 years. So it's been really fun to watch that all evolve over all these years.
Yeah, it's been really neat, working with such a small team, and my job primarily working with the community. Interestingly enough, I was passionate about the product as a consumer, And Nate reached out to me through Facebook back in 2019. I was creating content on how to use the product. And next thing you know, I'm working for them because, you know, they genuinely care about what the consumer wants. And I say it all the time to our users is, you know, we're not building something for ourselves, although we're passionate and excited about doing that. We're building something for the consumer and the users. So, you know, we're not just trying to build something for the sake of building it. We're trying to solve problems and, you know, kind of democratizing live content, which is kind of the whole storyline of Mevo.
That's awesome. I mean, it's always great when you have somebody that's passionate about the product before they're paid. You know, they're paid to be passionate about the product. And it's just such an awesome organic story. It's like the only emails and DMs I get are like, hey, do you want to wear our socks and promote them? Like, where were you, Nate? Where you weren't in my emails, Nate?
Sorry,
nah.
sorry.
Why don't
Next
we have
time.
Mevo socks? I want Mevo socks.
There, marketing team, get on that. Right, we have some really great V&H socks. They went and they were pretty hot for a while. But Joe,
cool.
I know you were gonna get some slides that you wanted to go over and kind of dive in. So let's look at some of the nuts and bolts and the numbers behind this camera and see what we're actually looking at here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Awesome. Let's see here. Just want to make sure we've got my slides up. I'm assuming we do. I can't tell from here.
Nothing yet on our side.
All right, let me see what we got here. Let me go ahead and grab. Easy enough.
There we
That
go.
was my mistake. I assumed that Zoom was going to do its thing.
No worries.
Fantastic. So like I was talking about, you know, democratizing live content creation, you know, most of the Mevo team, like Nate said, has been together for years, and most of us all come from a production style background. So, you know, where you've got large television size cameras, you've got ginormous stands that are 50 pounds in themselves, cables everywhere, monitors everywhere. And, you know, and then you've got the new way, and everybody's been doing this is, let's go grab a bunch of capture cards, some cameras that might not be meant for live streaming, you know, run some cables to the computer, and, you know, it works and it works great. And then we've got our way, which is kind of, let's eliminate some of those cables. Let's really make this an enjoyable interest and like experience for anyone who wants to create content, you know, whether it's somebody who has been creating content for years and wants to use functions like NDI or SRT, or, you know, you're somebody who's trying to shoot little Timmy's baseball game. You can grab these cameras, take it to your local field, and start streaming without needing to, you know every aspect of production. And that's kind of where Mevo comes in, which is, it's really cool. Now, naturally, with Mevo Core, which is, like Nate said, I could have said it better. It's a big boy. It is a camera of all cameras, you know, and it introduced the 4K 30 into the Mevo workflow with the full Micro Four Thirds experience. So you've got that HDMI output that Mevo hasn't historically had. We introduced that to kind of work into your existing workflow. And you can use it as a webcam. And I've talked a lot about this. I know when I was there right before launch, we did some trainings there at B&H in New York. And one of the things I tried to drill in was, you know, what's really cool about Mevo is it's not a one-use thing. It's not a one-trick pony. It truly is something you can use even if it's off season in sports, or, you know, you want to use it in your house of worship, or, you know, at the end of the day, you can plug it in and use it in your Zoom call. Currently, I'm using Mevo Core as a webcam for this call. So it's not something that is one use and it's going to collect dust otherwise. You can use it anytime you want. So, and then naturally, you got a battery life of 6 hours, so you can keep streaming, keep recording. You can run it wirelessly. You can kind of bring in audio from a soundboard if you want to, or a wireless lavalier, which is what I'm doing today. And it's just, it's small. It's not something you've got to worry about. It's hefty, and I've heard a lot of reviews about that recently. It's like, yeah, it's pretty small, but this thing is substantial. It is substantial. It's not something that you've got to worry too much about being abused. You can kind of, you know, take it on the go and not worry too much about it. Of course, the Micro Four Thirds, this kind of opens up a lot of real creative things that you can do. You know, we had the Mevo Start, which was the previous generation. It was, you know, fixed focus, fixed lens, can't really zoom, just the digital crop. Fantastic for supplemental use, but then you can now bring in anything. You know, I've got 45 by 175 here. I've got the 1442 here. I can shoot from hundreds of feet away and still get a crystal clear shot, which was previously unachievable with Mevo ecosystem. But now you can truly kind of take advantage of everything you want to do. Kind of an example of that Mevo Start sensor and the Mevo Core sensor. It's interesting. A lot of our users, and I'm sure you all see it a bit, is, you know, they kind of see that 1080 and 1080 or 4K to 4K, but they don't really see the sensor size. And that's the true storyteller. Is not, you know, well, you're just doing 1080. The Mevo Start did 1080, and it's like, well, this is a significantly larger sensor, which means more light, less noise, and a crisper quality. So I really thought this was important to kind of show our users was, you know, the significant enhancement of the sensor size jumping from a Start to a Core. It truly is a big boy. And then multicam streaming, right? You know, the whole story behind Mevo and the way that we built it was a live event camera, a live event solution where you don't need cables, you don't need all of these things. You can switch and mix and match, add graphics, all of the things that you might want to do all through the mobile app. You don't need to bring a computer around with you. You don't need to buy hundreds of dollars of an additional hardware just to make your cameras work. You can plug it in or not and run it off battery. It'll create its own network, use your mobile device, press live stream, and you're off all your favorite destinations, which is fantastic. But, you know, I think the story kind of tells itself. I don't want to get too much into a slideshow here because I know Nate has fantastic demos to show of, you know, what this system can do. And I think that really tells the story.
Yeah, sweet. So I can kind of take it from here. I'll screen share the multicam app sort of in action. So nice review there, Joe. And give me 1 second here. We'll be all set to go. All right. Can you see this okay?
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Awesome. So if you're not familiar, you know, we're trying to bring new people into the Mevo ecosystem. So I'll kind of start from the beginning, but some of you might already know this product and have seen it, but let's just start from the beginning and give you a quick demo of things. So you're going to see a little bit of duplicate screens here. And that's because I've got 4 cores around the room here with different lenses on them. And I'm going to show you some of the features and functionality of the app. But before we get into it, let's just talk about multicam in general. So multicam is an Android or an iOS application that you can download for tablets or phones. It's free to use, free to download. You can go ahead and just download it anytime. You don't even necessarily have to have cameras. Right now, we're just streaming. We just have graphics in our cameras, but we do support NDI inputs as well and some other things. But today, we're trying to focus on the hardware. So in this setup right here in my room, I've got 4 cameras, all connected to my local Wi-Fi here. And my tablet is wirelessly connected as well. And then you're going to notice something, that this main camera that I have up in the top right-hand side is actually what's also going to this Zoom call. And so in our application, it's quite easy. The cameras on the left are your available options, and you can quickly just tap on them. And you'll notice that the top right now reflects that new camera. And this is basically what's being either streamed or recorded. Or in this case, I'm actually outputting it directly to my computer here for a Zoom call. And this could be used in OBS or Streamlabs or whatever you may want to use. And so we're basically producing everything on the iPad, and the final output's being sent to the computer, just like if you were streaming directly from it as well. So in here, as you're kind of tapping around, you can tell your story, just like a multicam production, right? Instead of needing OBS and kind of a computer and this whole setup, you can actually just run it directly from here, just with a really easy tap interface. Some other elements that you could do is we can go over to the graphics tab. We have some really basic graphics, but you can add full screen graphics if you'd like, or if you'd like to put a lower third in here, it's very easy to just tap those and add those. There's also options to add things like picture in a picture. We could come in here and set up a picture in the picture by selecting an input. We can place this wherever we'd like to in the screen or resize it. And we tap done, and now we can instantly use that as a layer picture in a picture for your production. Pretty sweet stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can just layer this however much you would like. So you can add multiple picture in a picture or multiple lower thirds and full screen graphics right there. Quite easy. So as
Wow.
we can kind of continue through some of this, obviously audio is a really important aspect. So you'll see over here on the right-hand side that we've got your full audio control. And this is where you can change all the volume inputs for each input, or if you'd like to just simply mute one, you can go ahead and do that as well. So now let's talk about Core. So with Core, compared to Start, you basically have this lens that you need to interact with, right? Whether it might have zoom or focus or aperture. And so instead of needing to go physically touch that camera and change it, we wanted to give you that software control. So that way, if you've mounted these cameras in certain locations around your set, that you can just quickly make those adjustments as needed as the single operator here, instead of having individual camera operators. So let's go ahead and open up one of these cameras that we have here. You can tap on the 3 dots. I'll actually put it up in program so you can see this. Tap on 3 dots, and then we're going to open up the image control zone. So in the image control zone, we've got your basic controls. You can grab the slider here and you can change the focus instantly on that camera. You can double tap anywhere in the interface if you'd like to have it auto detect and just autofocus. It does a singular autofocus, so it'll do a quick hunt using contrast-based focus and then just land on your focus right there. But at any point, you can just grab this slider and make some small changes to that focus if it didn't quite nail it the way you were hoping. Next, we've got some advanced options for some of these controls. You can add peaking, so that way you can have a better idea of what's actually in focus or not in focus. And you can change the color here. And then you'll notice right above this manual focus control. This is where you can disconnect the software and you can go back to sort of the traditional ways of running the lens from the actual lens controls physically on it. But if we continue on, we've got aperture. This is obviously important if you're trying to adjust exposure or if you'd like to change the depth of field that you might have on your camera. And then we've got zoom. So in this case, I've got a zoom. So I can physically move this. I'm using the 14 to 42 micro four thirds lens. And so I can come in the software here and I can just adjust that zoom exactly where I'd like to. All remotely, right? This camera could be anywhere as long as it's connected to that local network. You're remotely making all of these changes. All right, one last quick thing, and then we can get into some questions or a little bit of back and forth. But in the main focus area here, you'll notice there's some extra circles and squares around the frame. So what these are actually like saved crops and saved focus points. So one thing that we didn't really highlight with Mevo products is that you can actually take this zone here and you can crop anywhere on here. And as you can see, I'm live digitally cropping in that frame and we're smoothing it out as we're doing it. So that way you can kind of have this smooth camera movement. And this is using the digital side of all your framing. It's not using the physical elements. So even if you have a Mevo Start or a Mevo Plus first generation, or maybe you just have like a prime lens that you'd like to digitally crop on, or at least still be able to zoom, you can do that by just tapping in here and going and moving it however you'd like. Pretty easy. The last element here is these saved focus points. So I've gone ahead and saved a few, but I'm going to go ahead and tap on this one right here. And you're going to notice without hunting, without looking for the focus or without doing anything, it instantly just snaps to that focus point. And this can be really useful if you have like a podcast or you have a scene that you're sort of repeating certain creative moves, and you can just easily save those and reuse them. As an example, I'll just go over to this rose right here. And this is a saved focus point and crop. So simultaneously, I'm able to crop in on that rose digitally and change the focus directly to it without it hunting or looking for that focus point. And then I can go back wide, and then I could go to this cup here that I've got, Mevo coffee mug. And again, you can see that focus just instantly changed, the crop zooming in. And you're giving this whole illusion that you've actually got way more cameras than you actually have. So even if you just have one Mevo Core or one Mevo Start, you can make it look like you have multiple if you think of some sort of larger scene like a podcast.
Kind of goes back to the conversation we were having in the green room of being a one-man show at times, right? Sometimes you don't have time. If you can set all those shots up for your production, you can hurry up and quick and tap, and no one would know any different.
Yeah.
Wow.
that's about it. We could get into some other things along the way, but I think that really kind of shows off the main core use case of, Mevo Core.
I thought I was going to be ready to like dive into conversation. I'm like, I got to take a moment. I got to break the fourth wall, time out for a little bit here. I like to come into these things knowing a little bit, but not knowing too much. I like to be educated, and I like to kind of go in with a clean palate, so to speak. I came in with a little bit of knowledge and a clean palate, not expecting to be sitting. I'm like, I'm over here and I'm like, I'm not a paid actor. No. That's awesome. I mean, I can zoom in and stuff if my arm, like I can do stuff from my camera if I want to reach out and
Yeah.
maybe tap my. This is really, it is such a new way to stream, and I'm not even faking excitement here. I mean, we talk about it. I hope my team is sharing in the excitement of this, because we're always thinking of ways to up our game. And, with streaming now, you want to incorporate live events. We have an educational platform. We can now go do a live event. I was just talking to one of our producers on the team, Fred, about, it's like, well, I would love to stream photo walks. We do photo walks. It'd be cool to bring people in who aren't in the local area, bring them in on the experience. Something like this would make it so easy. And I think the big thing is you used to have to sacrifice production value. And we were okay with that because the technology wasn't there, where it's like, okay, it might cut out every 30 seconds, or you might lose your feed or drop audio or something. But now we're spoiled. We're way far removed from 56K modem, where, if somebody's on the phone, nobody can be on the computer. We want it all. And we're brats, I guess. We want what we want. We want to be able, like, you guys have just upped it. My mind is, I didn't even know it did like the saving everything in and doing it in real time. I was even, because I'm a nerd, I was paying attention to the latency.
Yep.
And the latency, I was going to ask you about the latency. And usually it's like, over the past couple years, it's like latency. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. We're used to dealing with delays, and it's like I'm watching the screen and I'm like, okay, Nate turned his head. Wait, his head turned right after. I'm like, that latency was right there.
No, that's a great bit of feedback. So we actually have some built-in latency options within the app. So in this case, I have it on like ultra low latency, because obviously we need to go from camera to the tablet, then tablet to the computer. So that's quite a round trip that it's making to get to you. So we have some optimized options in here. So if you're in a place where there's maybe poor connectivity, then that can be okay. You can add sort of a high latency option here where we can do more error correction to try to get those frames into the system. Or if you're in a video call and the most important thing is latency, and you're willing to maybe have a few frame drops here and there, depending on your network, then you can go for it and be really aggressive without latency to make sure that you get the sort of audio video flow that you want.
Now I feel like my commentary was scripted. It's like he had that, like, it's so quick, and it's like, who thinks of a latency option? I wouldn't think of it. It's kind of, I think, always been thought of for people who aren't in just regular people like me who stream, but I'm not on the product development side of things. You kind of accept it as it comes with the territory.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you guys have those various options, that's super cool. That a lot of, what, Joe, when you were showing the 3 different types of setups, I'm like, man, I'm 1 and 2 all the way. Like, if you look at my desk, my desk is a nice combination of 1 and 2.
Sure.
But this is like, that's a huge thing for me. I mean, everybody has their certain hot button points and sticking points, and the latency thing is a huge thing, especially for, with streaming. As somebody who does this on a day-to-day basis, there is nothing more difficult when you're live streaming than not knowing what kind of latency someone's working with on the other side, and how many times, and when you have that latency, that if I don't have latency, they have latency. It's all it takes is one person to have it, and it throws off the whole gel of the communication. So now it's like, well, Joe starts talking, and I think Joe's done, but he's just taking a breath, and I start going, and then, oh, Joe's voice pops back in. So it just, real world, in real case use scenarios, that just makes something like that so big for somebody like me.
Yep, totally.
What's super cool too, is Mevo is always kind of considered. I mean, we're wireless first product is what we've always been, and we kind of really use like timestamps and codes to make sure that anything that comes into the Mevo ecosystem is going to be in sync. So you don't have to like stress all of that. But naturally, like you said, latency is a conversation that's not going away. Everyone's going to bring it up. But what I try to remind a lot of our users is outside of the people actually on set or on production or whatever it may be, outside of them, your viewers will never know. Like, unless you're, again, talking over each other because latency is so messed up in person. But on the other side, you know, live television's not even technically live. They have a buffer where they've got to be able to filter out whether or not something was appropriate or not. So it's just like, you know, every once in a while people will be like, well, why does my YouTube show up 30 seconds after it was shot? And it's like, come on, like there's a level of expectation, and you just kind of explain a little bit, you know, like, you know, we can help you control some of the latency locally, but once it kind of gets out there into the wild, it's up to the platform to kind of, you know, take the encode and take care of it. So it's interesting to have those conversations. And then, you know, Nate and the team with webcam mode being part of everything. Mevo wasn't always built to be an additional use of a webcam. That's a use case that was born over demand from the community. They wanted to use it as a webcam. So we allowed that. And so it's like, okay, now we really need low latency. Like this has to be, it cannot be somebody talking over one another. And luckily the team, you know, put together a little user-friendly menu to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's a, yeah, go ahead, Nate.
No, yeah, I was just going to say it's a good point of the capabilities of the camera now. So we demoed Multicam here where we're specifically talking about sort of our ecosystem. But the great part about what we've been able to do the last couple of years is we've really opened it up to use it in your existing workflow as well. So in the past, we added NDI. We recently added SRT. So you can very easily add this to your sort of software-based switchers if you'd like to, or workflows. And then, you know, as Joe mentioned, with demand, we added UVC mode, so you can use it wired as a web camera directly to your computer like you would with any other web camera. And then with Mevo Core, we took it right to the next level, which is like full-blown SDI, or excuse me, not SDI, HDMI, right on the back of the camera, so you can plug it directly into your Blackmagic switcher or a capture card or something else. So while we really want you to use our ecosystem because we feel like it's really easy and user-friendly and gets you in the door with very low effort, we also want to make sure there's plenty of options for you to connect it to your existing system. So that way you could make it an addition, or if you happen to have another camera and you know, your buddy's doing a production, then you can always use it with them in that venue or that system as well. So I think that's a really key detail of what we've been trying to do is like, our ecosystem is the main recommendation, but we obviously want to make sure that you've got plenty of open doors to use it somewhere else.
I'm so glad you went there because that was going to be, I swear on my life, that was going to be my next point that I was going to bring up. One of the things that I've loved about Logitech is the ecosystem. And I beat that word. I use ecosystem all the time because it's something that's so important. Beyond it making things fun, it's functional. You know, we all love when it's like, hey, I can snap my fingers and my lights go on and then this and every, but then you always have that one lonely product. I feel like it's like a Toy Story episode in real life where it's like the one product that's been cast aside that when I snap my fingers, it doesn't do anything because it's not part of the Logitech ecosystem and it's not in the app. And that's something that's like, look, we want everything to happen now, but we also want things that are fun and engaging. We like LEDs. We like, you know, to have a little light up ring on our mic. We like things that are cool and visually and aesthetically pleasing and that trigger those responses, but we need functionality. And I love that you guys get it, that it's like, yes, our ecosystem is great and we're going to continue to push our ecosystem. But, and I look at it in terms of the ground up creators. When you think about, you know, you kind of alluded to a great point there, Nate, where it's like, you're working with a buddy. Well, what if my buddy doesn't have the setup that I have? And you're pooling resources. And this is a conversation, again, that comes up real world. I want to record stuff and I'll help friends out. Hey, let's record something. Or, hey, I want to lay something down. It's like, okay, well, I have some gear. You have some gear. Let's marry the gear and make a better setup. And if you have something that is so proprietary that you can't do that, or, you know, you're constantly adding to your setup, I think that's something that's so great. It'll work great without the ecosystem. It'll work even better with the ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually interesting because you mentioned kind of marrying different things, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like, you know, kind of going outside of the Mevo ecosystem, being able to take this elsewhere, you can kind of do the same thing because we don't want to alienate users who want to join the Mevo ecosystem. You can also bring in existing hardware into Multicam. Not to, you know, go there, but NDI-HX can come into Mevo. You know, we're exploring a lot of different really cool things. So if you have an existing camera and you're like, man, I really want Mevo Core and I really think this is like my next step, you don't have to abandon your investment. Like, bring it with you. We'll do our best to get it into our ecosystem. We're already compatible in some ways, whether it's phones, NDI-HX. You know, you can bring it into the ecosystem to work side by side and seamlessly with our existing hardware. So, you know, we allow you to exit, but we also encourage you to enter the ecosystem. And it kind of just like, what's the tool for your, like, what's the tool? What tool in your toolbox for your production are you needing for that day? We don't want to alienate people. We want them to come in and give it a shot. So I think it's pretty cool that we've kind of opened the door for that.
I love that. Now, I gotta ask, Micro Four Thirds. What was there? Is there a method to the madness? Why Micro Four Thirds? What was the thinking behind it?
Well, I think the number one thing was that we needed to go from, as you saw in the slides earlier, that smaller sensor for start, and then we have this larger Micro Four Thirds. And I think what we really realized with the Mevo user base that we had, which was people were really excited about the product and what it could do. But the overarching theme was we want better, higher quality video. And so we thought about different sensors along the way, and the hardware team did the best job. Shout out to Jimmy and Jeff and Leona, searching for like the right sensor for what we wanted to do. We thought about all sorts of different things, but we landed on Micro Four Thirds. It's an open platform that can be used. We can join the alliance and make your own camera. And so I think it made the most sense for us, and it worked with our system on chip and all the rest of the items that went along with it, and just the Mevo ecosystem. So, and then we have to find this price point, right? So there's many different factors that all come into that. And for our users, we just realized there's plenty of lenses. We don't want to make our own lens, our own custom lens. And we want to give people the versatility of what's already out there. And so this seemed like a really nice, affordable option for our users to really upgrade and get the image quality that they were all asking for. Obviously, it comes with a little bit more of a price tag, but we feel that the quality of the product and the overall image quality is more than worth it when it comes to it. So I think that's the origin story. It's like we really wanted to make sure that higher quality is brought to live streams, and I think we delivered.
Nate, somebody gave you my question sheet. Everything that every question I had, I'm like, Nate's just bringing it up. If I just let him talk for the next hour, we're gonna cover all my. I love it. That means we're aligned. This is perfect because you know the next direction I was gonna go was obviously you talk about the mount, and then you move to the lenses, and that decision to open it up and not make your own lenses, which I think that's awesome. I mean, there's a ton of good glass out there, and really just focusing on that body itself. I look at it and it's like that's great. You know, I'm thinking of, you know, I didn't even think it would have the capabilities that it would have. And again, it's something that as somebody who's adopted legacy glass to my medium format digital camera, it's like, okay, I'm cool with a vignette on the edge. I'm cool with adding an adapter. I'm cool with having to manually focus. Just charge it to the game. It is what it is.
Yep.
But when I'm seeing you doing all this stuff, I'm like, wait, hold on. Is he really like, what's the functionality with the lens? Are you for, if I'm getting, you know, like some of the glass that I've seen you guys using, it's full functionality as long as I'm not getting like, hey, if I'm adapting a Micro Four Thirds lens that's an old manual focus lens, obviously it's not going to be like magically be able to autofocus it. But other than that, if I have a regular, you know, semi-updated lens that has autofocus, you're able to pull all that technology into it.
Yeah, so right now, you know, at launch, we're supporting pretty much anything Micro Four Thirds. We're also doing something pretty unique where we're doing a little bit of what do you say, audio cancellation of lens noise. Certain lenses can be pretty noisy, so we actually have an embedded fourth microphone that's inside the camera. It doesn't actually listen outside, it listens inside. And so when the lens moves, we try to do some audio cancellation to make sure that you don't hear the lens in the audio. So that's something that's kind of unique and fun that we do that's kind of on the side of it that no one really sees. But Back to your original question of lenses. So anything micro four thirds, we're going to be adding support, fingers crossed, by the end of the year or sooner, to allow for Canon and sort of conversions to other mounts using like Metabones adapters, so on and so forth. So day one, they obviously work if you put them in full manual mode. But to get all the pinouts to, say, Canon or Sony lenses, and have that remote control of focus and aperture, or maybe even zoom in some cases, we're hopefully going to be developing that and getting it out the door to customers later this year. But right now, if you connect it and it's all manual, you're good to go. It's just those pinouts for actually having software control.
One thing that's also really neat, and kind of shout out to Dan and Rich, who kind of do our IQ and everything in the background, is they've got dozens of lenses that they've tested, and they're constantly feeding our firmware team, unique profiles for each of these lenses of how they should behave. So that's another thing that kind of happens in the background. So our help articles on help.mevo.com, the list is continuously going to be growing. I just got an additional probably 15 lenses that they've tested and submitted to the firmware team to get added. That way we know how these lenses behave to our commands, and we can make sure we kind of optimize the experience for each lens, so our users are getting the best bang for their buck, and they're not just out there winging it. Like, we've tested it. And then we also, of course, naturally allow users to contact us and tell us, hey, we have a lens we've not tested, and we can send it over, and they'll go grab it and see how we can optimize that as well. So it's really neat to kind of take that existing glass and the existing lenses and adapters and stuff out there, and kind of feeding it to them, and they're outputting the best way to use it within the ecosystem, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. And that's another thing along with the Logitech ecosystem is the firmware updates and staying on top of making sure that the product that you have out is the best product that it's going to be at any given time. And I think that's such a cool ethos. I know there's a lot of what we've had to deal with in the consumer age is, okay, a firmware update if something goes wrong, but buy a new product. And I love seeing that it's like, well, hey, we're going to just, if something's wrong, we're going to fix it, but we want to continually make the product better. If there's something that we realize in R&D that we can do with the firmware update, we're going to do it. And that's something that I've kind of gotten used to with the Logitech ecosystem, is like, I love going on. It's like Christmas morning checking for firmware updates. I'm such a nerd. Such a nerd. What happened to my life? I check for firmware updates, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
you're right though, right? One of the great things is like this is not a one-time purchase where it's like what you bought is what you get, and nothing more ever comes to it, right? The Mevo Start launched, and it did not have NDI, it did not have SRT, it was not webcam capable. But now, all the way back to our very first camera from 2016, that is now webcam capable. We are releasing features and functionalities to our cameras, and it will continue on with the Mevo Core. Functionalities are going to continue to be added, and we're going to continue to develop, and we're going to continue to kind of, refine the experience. And if we see an experience that, we can improve on or add that currently isn't existing, whether that's, exploring frame rates or exploring different resolutions and, different use cases, the day and age of TikTok and portrait, and, these are all things that our team is very aware of, that our users are interested in. And we're not just going to say, well, you bought it and it wasn't there. No, we're going to continue to explore, continue to do R&D. And if I've learned anything from our hardware and software engineers, it's like, they don't back down from a challenge. So if there's something out there that we can add and add value to an existing investment, we're going to do it. It's just a no-brainer. And users who buy into the ecosystem and purchase our hardware can trust that most likely something additional is going to be added in the future. We're not just going to just leave it and say, all right, next to the next thing. It's just not in our DNA.
I think that's awesome. I'm going to go on a little tangent here, because this is my first introduction to the Mevo brand. It's obviously, it's like a brand within a brand. And the great thing is, you've had, as we've talked about in the green room, it's like when you have brands come together, and you have one brand come together, one good brand come together with another good brand, it's like they form a great alliance, and people develop trust. You develop a trust in, okay, I know that if this brand is joining this brand, if these brands are aligning, this brand has a great reputation. If I know nothing about this brand, I'm going to come into that thinking that, okay, this brand has a great reputation as well. Everything you guys have shown, and I think just hearing the experience side of things, and this is why I don't just like going on YouTube. It kind of helps that I have my own show, so I can just, if I want to learn about something, I can just get people on and
Yeah.
ask questions.
There you go. There you
Well,
go.
Like it.
but this is why it's great to talk to the people behind the brands, because it's like it means something to me to know, like, I can just see the passion the way you guys talk about this. It's almost feels like a family and not a company or a brand. It's like, hey, we see this stuff, we pay attention, we do this, we have this mentality. And I think that's super cool. And I think that you don't get to see it when you're just logging on, and even watching a really cool reel or a really great in-depth review from
Yep.
the hottest YouTuber. You don't get a chance to really pull back the curtain and look at the people behind the products. Just, it's a little bit tangential here, but I think that's such an important thing. And that's one of the things why I love having brand representatives come on and the people who are behind the products, because you can't hide the passion for what you guys do. And I think that's such an important tie.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we try to kind of open up the curtains for our community. We have a very active 21,000 strong Facebook group where you can get a hold of myself, you can get a hold of Nate. We're actively in there commenting and explaining, you know, our thought processes behind decisions. We're doing polls, we're doing all types of things, and then we just launched a Discord, which is 1,000 plus and growing. But we actively are out there listening and kind of being part of the community, because, you know, just like how Nate found me back in 2019, you know, we don't know who the next person is who might come in and kind of be like, you know what, this is what we need, and, you know, come onto the team, like let's make a difference. And our community, they're vocal, they're going to share what they want, but they've been extremely understanding and patient, and they've really allowed us to kind of create a roadmap for ourselves, because if you ask them what they want, they're going to tell you. And it really makes it very easy to make a product when someone knows what they want, and we're not in here just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard to see what's next, right? It's like the community has spoken, we listen to them, we're part of the community. And, you know, Mevo probably wouldn't be where it is without the community behind it. It's been a very word of mouth growth for years, whether it's at a sports game or house of worship or whatever it may be. Our community has kind of just been super strong and supportive of not just the brand and the company, but of each other. I'll go out on a limb and say there's not another community out there like the Mevo community.
They're a passionate group, that's for sure, to say the least.
Yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
love that. You need it. And you know, because these are the people that are using the products. These are the people that are buying the products. And I think when you can pour that experience in, like you said it, Joe, you're also the end user. You guys are
Yeah.
not just people that are behind the product. It's like you're in front of the product. You're using the product. You want a product that is gonna work to your standards because it's something that you care about as a creative, you know. And a lot of us in this industry, we're creatives as well. We're doing, you know, what we love for a job or not for a job, or we're doing both. So we really need to have that. And I gotta say, it also helps when you guys come on camera and you're using your own products
Oh yeah.
and you look great.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like people are going to judge you by what they're looking at. And you know, it's even cool. Because again, it's like I look at everything from it's like I'm in the Matrix and everything is a production. It's like if I walk into somebody's apartment, it's like, wow, this would be a nicer experience if you had a light up in the corner. And I'm looking, it's like you guys have two different looks and styles. So it's like the nerd in me is like, everybody has their own look. It's like there's not one good look. Like some people come on and they have like, you know, they have like the flat log look. And I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. It's like very like,
nice. Yeah.
you know, the dynamic range.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like Nate's got a little more dynamic range. And Joe's like, I'm on a set right now. I got lighting people. I got a team of 3 people behind the camera holding up cue cards and
no.
everything.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I wish I had a team of people. It's just me and I've got a shop on my property. I'm very lucky to be able to have a set at my own residence, and it's been It's great, but like you said, you know, we are users. You know,
Yep.
Nate goes and shoots things. I go and do like every tutorial you see on at Mevo Camera on YouTube or any of our social platforms are all shot with Mevo cameras. Because if we're not going to use our products, how can we expect other people to, right? Like we've got to let the product speak for itself and the ecosystem. Like, let us show you what you can do. Let you show you what you can accomplish. And that goes without saying when you're actually using your products. And it's super cool. I couldn't be more lucky to be where I work right now and get all these fun toys. Like, you know, you're using the blue Sona there. You know, just having the Logitech ecosystem in general and the backing and the support system and everything has been really cool to see.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. Actually, one thing, just small add, is that, you know, we're a small team, but it's like a soft requirement. I don't know if it's a hard requirement, but it's a soft one where you have to use our cameras for any video calls. And we're all over the place in New York and Poland and LA. And so whenever we're on calls, it's like you just have a bunch of Mevo cores all shooting each other. Because it's just what we have to do. We get on calls with other people in Logitech, and that's how we support the brand and how we show people the product. So we're definitely pretty hardcore users within the company. We're not just like trying to make a product for other people. We actually use it ourselves.
I love that. And I will say, again, I was paying attention, Nate, when you were doing the little demo. I'm like, how labored is he? Because I know, I'm like, I had to have another member. Let me look directly into the camera here. I had to have another member of my team share screen and play the video because like I'm gonna be flustered. It'll be over. So I was paying attention. I'm like, Nate was over there. Nate was just not even troubled. He wasn't even bothered. The guy's like 6 cameras pointing at him.
Oh, let's
And
go.
these are the things that people are paying attention to, at least people like me, the tech nerds out here that are like, can I run my own operation? Does it make it
Yep.
easy? Does the technology, like having bells and whistles is really cool, but I don't really need an automatic back window in my car. It sounds cool, but when am I ever going to use an
Sure.
automatic back window in my car? It's like I need one on the front windows. I need, you know, so it's like the technology has to be functional. It's great if it's you're like, oh, look, we're the first one to do this, or ooh, look, bells and whistles.
Yep.
But if it's not functional or if it doesn't make your job easier, it just gets in the way. And that is something that like when I'm paying attention to you just kind of navigate that around, it was like, yeah, obviously you work on the product, you know the product
Yeah.
very well,
Yeah.
but still, if you know, if you don't look labored or you don't look like it's like you were doing that seamlessly, and even just setting the little what did you call it, the little pinpoints,
Yeah, like
the
save focus
pinouts,
points and things. Yeah.
like that's so awesome. And I'm looking at like how much laboring a lot of people have to do, which is kind of going to lead me into my final point that'll take us home here is for all the people out there that are watching, you know, this stuff a lot of times it's associated with gamers and streamers. I will tell you, I'm on a lot of Zoom calls, more than I probably would prefer prior to 2020.
Same.
The first comment I always get is about my sound, my light, my setup, how I look, right? And at the end of the day, it's like they're not so concerned with what product is that there. It's wow, what do you like? What is going? It's just this
Yeah.
whole like overarching. What do you have going on? How do you look like that? How do you sound like that? It makes a difference. People notice. People, whether you're streaming, whether you do this professionally, or whether you're someone like my brother who works 4 out of 5 days at home and sits on calls all day. I've told him about my whole setup. I gave him a gear list. I was like, I will come up there and set it up for you. Cause it's like, it
Awesome.
really, people take you seriously. And you don't have to be a big Twitch streamer. You don't have to be a big YouTuber. You can be just a person in your living room, like I am, that wants to present themselves in the most professional manner possible. And it 9 out of 10 calls I get on, some of these people are like huge people that I'm nobody. And they're like, oh my God, what are you using? It makes a difference.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even Otto, he oversees all of Mevo, is he said it yesterday when we were kind of having like a pre-meeting for this call, right? Is you know, he's like, you have to take all your calls from there now, right? And I was like, from the set? You want me to take all of my calls from the set? He's like, dude, I feel like I'm talking to someone important. I said, I am important. But no, like it really does.
Yeah.
Look good, feel good, sound good. It makes a difference on how people, how you appeal to people and they approach you. And if you take your appearance seriously, no different than going to a job interview. Looking good in a call could be the difference between, getting a call back. Like, look at the effort that was put into that production. Look at the effort that was put, like, you, luckily, if you use Mevo, it can be pretty effortless, but it's going to look like you put in some serious work, and it's pretty cool. I couldn't agree more with that sentiment.
That's a great point there. And I'm gonna back Otto up on that. Yeah. That's it. There's no
All the
turning
calls.
back now, Joe.
Yeah.
You gotta leave. You gotta leave it like
my
that.
laptop just lives here now, so I guess I'll just do all my calls here.
Yeah. I mean, look, all you have to do is every once in a while just throw in a, is my audio good? Can just check that and check this light over
Right,
here.
right.
People are
So
people are
do
gonna
it.
think, yeah, just throw a couple hand signals and
Got a
and you're
whole
good to
team.
go there. I mean, it really does. It stands out. Like, I would have thought you had a team. I would have thought you had a team behind you. And then Nate ruined the fun for you, ruined the secret that is out that you can
Yeah.
just kind of do everything. And even just doing that from an iPad, I mean, that's super cool. I don't have a little Timmy, but I have a little Nolan who plays baseball.
Sweet.
And it looked like something where I can hand the camera to my wife and the image might not be straight. It might not be composed right,
That's
but
okay.
it's gonna capture it.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it easy. Even design wise, I know we didn't touch on this, but ergonomically and design wise, it looks like an eye. Like it's simple. It looks like, hey, I don't need 50,000 buttons and stuff over here and a hand grip and all this. It's just simple. I like it has like that nice, elegant, minimalist feel to it, which again, we're aesthetic creatures of habit. We like things that appeal to our eye and things that look futuristic or simple. And then, you said it best, Joe. It's like, it looks like a lot of effort was put in, but it's really not. And I think that's the goal. Get the look of an entire crew with something that's just super minimal, looks easy to use, functions well, software backs it up. I'm talking a lot. I told these guys, I'm like, you guys will probably be on like 25 minutes, and here I am. It's like, little did you know.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at
Hey,
us.
we're having fun. Time
Yes,
flies
sir.
when you're having fun. When you have something fun to talk about, time
Yeah.
can go fast.
That's it. You guys are just gonna have to keep releasing products now. Every time we get somebody from Logitech on here, I'm like, we gotta have you back. I don't care if we just come on and we're just gonna get a whole party in here. We'll bring it back to like early Zoom days when
There we go.
you had 30 people on, and we'll just everybody talk.
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
we're not a gaming, or at least the Mevo portion of the Logitech business group is not a gaming product in general. Like, sure, you could use it as a gaming product, but we should really just do like a gaming night, like once a month. We all just get on there, all the engineers, and we all just, I don't know, play Mario Kart or something and just goof around and talk tech with people. I think that'd be so much fun.
I love that. I have to warn you though. I was always the person that wanted to go play outside because I sucked at video games.
Same,
you can only
same.
you can only lose in Street Fighter so many times before you're just like,
Just
yeah.
over it, ready to get out of there.
Oh man, yeah, let's go throw a tennis ball up against the garage.
Yeah,
There you go.
Sounds
There you
sounds
go.
like more fun. All right, I'm just evolving this conversation. Otto's gonna be like, you guys are never going on that program again.
Oh
Oh my
no,
God.
I think
It's half the fun.
I think he's looking for our agents now. I think he wants to start.
There we
getting
go.
us
We're
out
gonna
there.
bring him on next time. We got it. We're
That'd be
just
great.
gonna make this an entire. We're gonna get everybody on board. We'll bring Dan and Pav back in. We'll get Jay in here. We'll get everybody. Let's bring them all in.
Nice.
There we
Nice.
go. Well,
I'm
look,
in.
I want to thank you guys. This was awesome. I hope this. I gotta see. Was this wasn't bad, right? Painless.
No,
Never. It's never.
There
bad.
you go.
that was great.
Smooth.
We got to show off our favorite product. We just released it. We're so pumped about it. We want to tell everyone.
There you go. And
True.
look, if you guys, we're gonna drop a link here. Danny, can we get that YouTube link dropped in there, please, in the comment section, so you guys can go check out this product. Look, Logitech in general has one of the best landing pages on B&H. All you have to do is just type in Logitech, and it will itemize everything for you and pull up sections that you didn't know existed and take you to all the products. But if you go into that YouTube link that we played, the video that we played earlier, there's some links in there, and you guys could check out more of this product if you want to actually see more product stuff and less of me talking. Then you can go there. I promise I won't pop up on the YouTube screen. So huge thank you to Joe and Nate. and the entire Mevo Logitech family that made this possible. Any closing words? Anything we missed?
I mean, I'd just like to thank B&H. I mean, you guys were a killer launch partner for when we launched the camera last week. That was a blast. We got to take over the homepage for a little while. We also have a bunch of lens bundles. So if the user is like, oh man, I don't know what lens I need or like what works with it, B&H did a bunch of bundles for us. So that way you can go in there and you can pick the lens that's right for you. And yeah, so thank you very much for a great week the last week, and looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, and if you're in New York City or around the area, we did set up a
yeah.
demo station where you can go check out Mevo Core live on the second floor of the B&H store in Manhattan. It's a great setup. Go take a look. And like Nate said, we couldn't be more thankful for B&H. You all have been a fantastic partner for the launch and just being able to support. I love even, checking out our emails and seeing, you guys are getting confirmation on specific questions and making sure everyone's educated in the product before they get it. And I think that's so important for a product like this to take off, is to have a valuable backing. Obviously, with our support team is great. Having that extended family has been wonderful. So thank you all for, not only having us in New York and doing the launch with us, having us on the show today. So thank you.
Emotional. Great. I didn't think I was going to shed a tear. No, this is great. I love this. These are the days when I really, really, really love my job.
Yeah.
I love my job, but these days make it great. So you guys have been a wonderful partner. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. And head over, if you are in the tri-state area, head over and check that out in store. I'm in the Bronx, so I'll have to get on the 1 train, head down myself and check it out. And I'll update you guys on the next edition of the B&H Virtual Event Space. Remember to check us out on YouTube. Just look up B&H Event Space, and you can find this and all of our other live recorded content living forever. You can watch it. It's free. It's always there. Check it out. Huge thank you to Joe, Nate, the rest of the Mevo Core and Logitech team. But that is it. This is all we have in the books. Another edition of the B&H Virtual Event Space now over. We'll catch y'all next time.